Coming up on In the Life, an In the Life special presentation. One family story of gay adoption in the film Preacher's Sons.
My dads are so nice, and they're now my real father.
And an interview with the filmmaker, Roebuck Reed.
It's kind of a challenge to get people who are not on the same page with us to watch a film about gay adoption.
In the Life is funded in part by the H. Van Ameringen Foundation, Arcus Foundation, the estate of Richard W. Weiland, and by the annual support of In the Life members like you.
Over 500,000 children in the United States are in foster care. More than 100,000 children await adoption. Despite this growing need, states currently restrict gay adoption. Tonight on In the Life, documenting the issues and people shaping the gay experience. An excerpt from the film Preacher's Sons, which introduces the Stewart family and their journey for acceptance as a non-traditional family. And an interview with filmmaker Roebuck Reed, who chronicled their journey. And now, Preacher's Sons.
Are you rubbing it in?
No. What do you want?
Hey! There was two older women sitting over there at the end of the pool, and I was here in the middle, and kids were all playing around me and stuff and called me Papa, hey Papa, hey Papa. And then Greg walked by the pool, and all the kids turn and go, Daddy! And one of the women, older women, said to the other one, uh-oh, there must be something wrong here. And all the time David's calling me Mommy, too, at the same time. So, yeah.
Let's go! You know what a line is, Deontay?
Right here.
Yeah, a line, straight line, single file. Papa, you ready? Almost. Let's go, guys. Regular seats in the van, please. Seatbelts on? When I talk about our family, it's in some ways like any other family.
Start making some PB&Js.
And in some ways, it's like any other family, only exaggerated.
Why?
We always tell people we don't recommend this to anybody unless they feel particularly called to do this. Not for adoption, and with kids that have had pasts that end up getting them labeled as at risk. It really is a calling.
Oh, you can't open it with that, Joe. That's not for it. Watch, you're gonna make all this stuff. Oh yeah, good idea, Joe. Go like this. Guys, put it on there. Put it on there and pull it real hard. Oh, Daddy did it! Let's have a cheer for Daddy. Yay!
Greg Stewart was the Minister of Religious Education at Neighborhood Church in Pasadena where my husband and I had started taking our young children. And over the course of a couple years, I started seeing these little boys showing up and coming in for bagels in the morning, and wondered who they were. And then I found out that Greg and Stillman were adopting these 5 children over this 2-year period. At the same time, my husband and I were acquiring video equipment, and I'm trained in ethnographic film. So I had wanted to make a documentary for a long time, but it was prohibitively expensive. So the coincidence of the video equipment and this amazing story, which, as far as we were concerned, there was no guarantee it was going to turn out well. We thought that it was a really bad idea for these 2 guys who had not parented, as far as we knew, to adopt 5 children who had been mistreated. So we approached them in early 2002. Because they knew us, there was already a level of trust established.
Can't tell Stillman that he talked to us if he didn't talk to us at all, not even one word.
Maybe instead of talking, could you show us something? Do you know any skateboard tricks?
Alan was born very addicted to cocaine and fetal alcohol syndrome, the whole works. He was born 3 weeks premature, and they didn't expect him to live. So he had a really rough start in life.
Here you go, Alan.
Let's go, bud.
Alan stands up for himself. He never backs down. And if you say red, he says blue. That can be an endearing trait, or it can also just be, you know, really self-destructive and destructive to others. He is at the point now where he intuits what a family is supposed to be, and he can almost feel it, but he's just this far from trusting. But he's close enough that he's going to make that step. It's taken him a while. He came to us when he was 3 years old. He's now 6 years old, and underneath his rough exterior, like a lot of kids, he's got a heart of gold and can bring tears to your eyes just by pointing out things that happen that we just take for granted. Right around the time his adoption was rolling around, when it was about to be finalized, out of the blue, we got a call. It's a worker we've never heard of before, and she had a baby, an infant, that she needed to place, and she had to place the infant that night. And would we be able to take this infant? And oh, by the way, it's Alan's biological brother. And that night, a worker came over and brought us a beautiful baby boy. He had no name. His name on the paper was just Baby Boy, and then a last name. And he was, at this point, 2.5 weeks old. We immediately said yes, without even thinking, without even realizing that we didn't know hardly anything about babies.
They literally gave us approximately 48 hours to get ready to have a baby. And the baby came to us with basically the clothes that he had on his back with one little tiny bottle.
This baby was in our home, but there was no guarantee that the baby would stay in our home.
Yeah, they made that very clear, even though that we had his biological brother in our house. There was no guarantee that he couldn't end up with any relative, actually.
We were bonding with the baby's bonding with us. And every week we were told that the family could request to have that baby back. And within 48 hours, we would no longer have the baby. It just totally changed our lives, and it was very overwhelming. And what amazes me at this point now when I think about that is all this is going on, the social worker comes up with another kid who's had 14 previous placements and 3 previous failed adoptions out of state. His mother had come across the Mexican border, had the baby, and left the baby at the hospital. And this boy had been moved around and around.
It's hard climbing this tree.
What's the hardest thing you do, you think? Is it climbing the tree?
Yep. No. The hardest thing in my life is when I make mistakes, I can't fix it. And that's the hardest thing in my life.
The worker brought him over and said, "This is the case I've had the longest. We can't place him anywhere. We've seen what you guys have been doing with the other kids, and, will you take him?" Good try. We heard the story. The kid was there, and we said yes on the spot. What surprised us is the worker said, "Well, I don't think we need to have any short-term visits or anything. I've got his stuff in the car. Let's just move him in." So he moved in
There was
that
no
day.
visits, no nothing.
Yeah.
He just came.
Nobody. Is it fun to play with nobody? The worker warned us that he was not like Alan or David, that he would need psychotropic drugs, he would need to be in therapy immediately, he would be dangerous to us and to the other kids. All of these behaviors we were told were going to take place were either not taking place or they weren't taking place to the degree that we were told they would be. He would have fits, he would have tantrums, he would occasionally throw things, slam doors. He was clearly more disturbed than the other 2 kids. But it really wasn't, this overwhelming thing where we ever felt like, for our safety, for the baby's safety, for Alan's safety, he needs to be out of this house.
My dad are so nice. They just take care of me and protect me. And they're now my real fathers. It's like I came out their stomach. And I like it right here. It's fun.
We get another phone call, and this time they've got 2 boys. These boys were named Javante and Deontay. Javante was 7.
Okay, Joe, give her the headphones, okay?
Okay.
Deontay was 6 when they came to our house.
Go back.
These 2 boys are siblings that are probably going to have to be split up because one is very quiet and compliant, one is very loud and doesn't seem to hear what anybody else has to say and doesn't follow directions. They had at least 12 previous placements. It's a placement about every 6 months. The Department of Children and Family Services did not sugarcoat this in any way. They said this is a whole new level. They weren't even sure they recommended this, but they didn't want to see the kids get split up, and would we at least meet with them?
Hi.
Hi. Sounds pretty cool, huh?
Yeah. Come here.
But I don't know if people realize, what a big impact that is on a child. You're first taken away from your biological parents, if you can imagine that, and then being told that you're not going to live with your sibling anymore.
When I grow up, I'm going to be helping you.
Really?
When I grow up, I'm going to be a doctor first. Then I'm going to change. I'm going to change into a pet zoo.
Into a what?
A pet zoo lady.
What is that? I don't understand what that is.
Like the pet ladies, they take care of the animals.
Like a veterinarian?
Yeah.
Can you say that?
Pet Marion. And every time when an adult says do not touch a dog, do not touch it. Right?
Right.
How old are you?
How old are you?
You.
You.
8.
What grade are you in?
First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, tenth.
What is the one question you wish we would ask you?
Goodbye.
Okay.
Okay.
No.
Joe and Dee had that same biological connection that Alan and David had. Joe had lived with his biological mother for 3 years. Deontay never lived with his biological mom. Mom left him at the hospital. He was reunited with his brother in foster care, and they were miraculously kept together through at least 12 placements. Neither one of them, when they first came to our house, used silverware. They used their hands and simply put food in their mouth. Both of these kids would hoard food. They would take food and put it in their rooms and under their beds for later. If you figure in those 12 placements the amount of time they spent in each home, when was their time to teach them how to eat, how to brush their teeth, how to use the bathroom, how to do much of anything?
To go together.
There was no continuity in their school. They were working at grade levels so far below par, it was like starting over, because they'd start one school and 3 months later be in another school and 2 months later be in another school, and they'd be out of school because the records wouldn't get transferred or their physicals weren't up to date. We knew that this was a different level, and they were truly troubled kids. And at the same time, we also knew we were going to give it a shot.
I have a bachelor's in social work. And one thing in Chicago, my first job was, we had a lot of gang kids too. And when I was going to school, I did an internship at a senior center, and I really liked working with seniors. And Greg kept telling me that someday that I'd be working with gang kids in the inner city. I was like, there's no way. And when I graduated, I couldn't find a job working with seniors. And this place I applied for and got the job. Been working with kids ever since.
My journey was basically from disbelief that people would take on this sort of challenge. As the mother of 2 daughters, I could not imagine raising 5 sons. And the fact that it was 2 dads really didn't have that much to do with it. But I must say, my respect for these men has grown exponentially over the years. They are fabulous parents. And I realize now, in a very deep sense, that it does not matter what the parental makeup of the household is, as long as they are good, dedicated, loving people.
Remember the children's choir? If you want to start singing in the children's choir again, they're going to start rehearsing between 10 and 11 on Sunday, which means you're already here, which means you can all join, and we would have a children's choir of 400 kids. Wouldn't that be great? Now indeed. My dad was a senior minister, and I saw firsthand the good things and the bad things about that. But that was the catalyst to look for something other than the same kind of ministry.
And the winner, 15 points.
Daddy, I let them get it.
I know you did. That was very good of you, Arthur. That's very good of you to let everybody get some points, because you know you're the champion anyway. Okay, guys.
We waited 20 years into a relationship before we had kids has certainly helped maintain the core of our relationship, which was friendship long before it was anything else. We did share common religious heritage, which is really kind of cool, but we didn't share much else in common. One of the things I remember we used to do is, on our lunch breaks, get the suntan oil out, lay out in the front of this industrial park, for the hour and have lunch. That was not done in Columbus, Ohio, in industrial parks.
In 1979.
And, people suspected things before we even knew that we had a relationship that was beyond friendship, just because guys don't do that, I guess.
Love for one another and consented to travel in love with one another. We are pleased to receive them as sealed and true. I pronounce them partners for life, whom God has joined together. Let no one put asunder. And you may kiss.
Okay, here's the person that this is Papa. Not Thelma White. No, you leave it. Pee-wee.
What did he get that for?
For coaching us. Yeah. Devontae, stop that. This way.
Before we got kids, I worked in group homes. So I kind of knew what we were getting into. What I forgot to think about was that I can't just punch the clock and go home at the end of the day. And because they're my children and Greg's children, our children, I expect more from them than, just like any other parent, I expect more from them than, somebody else's kid.
So anyway, you were telling me last night something that's happening on Tuesday?
Adoption.
What is that?
Tuesday.
What is that?
We get adopted.
What does that mean?
We get to stay to Papa and Daddy's house. And we get to be Arthur and Anna's real brothers.
How long do you get to stay?
1,000 years. Until we die.
I guess we can move, can't we?
Yeah, you can actually move around. Yeah. We're used to still shots. Shake hands with the judge, guys.
In the waters, wade in the waters, children, wade in the waters. God's gonna trouble the waters. God's gonna trouble the waters.
They have been challenged not only by the boys, but by the society around them. After they left Los Angeles, they moved to Michigan, where they were not accepted as a family at all. The children were tormented on a daily basis at school about having two dads. When they went out, not only was it an issue that they had two dads, but also that both the dads were white and the children were not. They did the best job that could be done within the home, but of course, nobody exists in a social vacuum. We followed them through 4 different cities. They were received very differently in each one of those cities. The biggest tool they have in their toolbox for dealing with this sort of thing is to keep talking. They are very open in their conversations with the kids. And Stillman jokes at one point in the film that you got two dads, get used to it. Well, it didn't stop there, but that was very much a part of the attitude. This is one type of family among many possible types of families, and they're all good, they're all valid. From Greg and Stillman's perspective, the film was about, and the reason they were involved with the film, is that they want more children to be adopted. And they wanted people to see that this is a possibility and maybe open their hearts to adopting children. I am currently on a tour of the U.S. doing a grassroots approach to distribution. We're having house parties at organizations and churches. I believe that will be the best way to reach the middle Americans who maybe don't watch In the Life and maybe never thought they would see a film like this, but who love children. Because in the end, that really is what the film is about. It's about this family that forms because of the love of these two adults.
Thank you for watching In the Life. To learn more about the issues in tonight's episode and how they affect you, visit our website at inthelifetv.org. You can also watch exclusive content, including a look at the ACLU case challenging the gay adoption ban in Florida. Sign up for monthly airdate alerts and download past episodes 24/7.
In the Life is funded in part by the H. Van Ameringen Foundation, Arcus Foundation, the estate of Richard W. Weiland, and by the annual support of In the Life members like you.